Tatsuya was born into the Yotsuba family, one of Japan's wealthiest families. However, Tatsuya was born without any magical powers, which was a matter of great shame for his family. His own mother inflicted immense pain on him, subjecting him to numerous surgeries in an attempt to artificially instill some magic within him. But all the surgeries failed. After enduring such intense suffering, Tatsuya lost all his emotions. He could no longer feel anger, hatred, or love. He had become as cold as stone. Sometime later, Tatsuya discovered an incredibly powerful magic, one with the strength to destroy the entire world and even resurrect the dead. However, he kept this power hidden from his family, who continued to see him as useless. As a result, he was relegated to being his sister Miyuki's bodyguard. What happens next? We'll uncover everything. But before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It truly means a lot. At the beginning of the chapter, we see Miyuki and their mother traveling in business class, as typical for wealthy families. Meanwhile, Tatsuya was traveling in economy class among regular people. The scene shifts to the airport where Tatsuya is carrying all their luggage. Miyuki looks back, and her mother says, "You don't need to worry about him unnecessarily. He's your guard, and though he may be your brother by blood, he's nothing more than a servant. You are his master." Miyuki turns back and tells Tatsuya, "Stop staring at me." Tatsuya immediately stops, lowers his head, and apologizes. Later, they return home, where they are greeted by their maid, Anam. Miyuki again makes Tatsuya carry all her belongings. When Miyuki asks her mother for permission to go out, she is instructed to take Tatsuya along. Wherever Miyuki went, Tatsuya stayed a few steps behind her, as she always saw him as nothing more than a servant. One day, when Miyuki is about to bump into some people, Tatsuya grabs her to protect her. However, those people deliberately collide with him, and soon 3 retired officers approach them aggressively. Tatsuya steps forward to help Miyuki and politely asks the officers to leave, but judging by their expressions, it was clear they weren't going to back off. One of them throws a punch at Tatsuya, but he blocks it effortlessly. Miyuki suspects that Tatsuya might have used magic. Tatsuya warns the officers, but when they attack him again, he strikes one of them hard and takes Miyuki away from the scene. At that moment, Miyuki wonders where Tatsuya got such skills. They return to the villa and Miyuki shares everything with Honami. Hearing this, Honami praises Tatsuya, but since his duty was over, Tatsuya leaves. In the next scene, it is revealed that Honami isn't feeling well, and Miyuki is preparing to attend a party hosted by their leader. She looks a bit anxious, so Honami cheers her up to ensure her image remains unaffected. Honami feels bad for Tatsuya because, lacking magical powers, he is relegated to being just a bodyguard. Later, Tatsuya and Miyuki enter the party. Miyuki congratulates a boy named Mitsugu, who introduces her to his cousin. As a bodyguard, Tatsuya takes his position. When Mitsugu's cousin approaches Tatsuya, Miyuki notices a smile on her face and feels a bit jealous. Meanwhile, Mitsugu intervenes to save Tatsuya from the mischievous children. However, his real intention is to keep the children away from Tatsuya, which Miyuki notices. Everyone at the party views Tatsuya as nothing more than a protective toy. Miyuki remarks, "Tatsuya has never treated me like a sister or cared for me. He just focuses on his duty." To manage the situation, Tatsuya responds, "It's time for my rounds," and leaves. The next day, the family decides to spend time on a yacht. When someone suggests swimming, Miyuki's mother responds, "I'm used to swimming in money, not water." Everyone starts taking photos, and naturally Tatsuya can't join them without his mother's permission. She finally agrees, bringing a smile to Miyuki's face. As they take photos, their yacht collides with a submarine. Miyuki and Honami immediately draw their magic cards, tools they use to perform magic. Miyuki notices that Tatsuya's hands are empty and considers him useless. Suddenly, they spot the shadows of 2 approaching raptors, and everyone is shocked because none of their magic is strong enough to counter them. Just then, Tatsuya raises his hand, chants a spell, and dismantles the raptors within seconds. Miyuki is baffled, unable to understand how he did it. She becomes deeply confused because Tatsuya had just used highly advanced magic effortlessly. She starts to wonder, is my brother truly this powerful? That evening, Kazama, a nearby military captain, visits the villa. When the family steps outside to see him off, they encounter the same officer who had attacked Tatsuya earlier. Upon learning of the incident, Kazama orders the officer to apologize. At Miyuki's request, Tatsuya forgives the officer. As Kazama prepares to leave, he invites Tatsuya to visit the unit base. The next day, Tatsuya's mother organizes a special warm party and orders him to visit the unit base. Miyuki insists on accompanying him, saying she wants to understand her bodyguard skills better. Their mother agrees, but instructs them to behave like siblings in public. She also tells Tatsuya to address Miyuki by her name. When they arrive at the base, a man named Da welcomes them and takes them to the training zone, where everyone is practicing basic magic under Kazama's supervision. Upon seeing Tatsuya, Kazama invites him to participate. Tatsuya's first opponent is a national boxing champion. As the match begins, the boxer launches an attack, but Tatsuya easily dodges all the punches and defeats him with a single punch. Next, Tatsuya faces a black belt fighter, and his skills leave everyone in awe. Finally, Tatsuya floors his opponent, earning praise from the spectators. Kazama, feeling a bit embarrassed after seeing a young boy defeat his soldiers, challenges Tatsuya for one last round. At that moment, the boxer Tatsuya defeated earlier, named Josh, requests another chance to fight him. Tatsuya agrees, but Miyuki grows a little concerned. In this match, the soldiers are required to use magic to win. Miyuki objects, but Tatsuya reassures her, saying, "Using magic is a magician's right." Using his abilities and magical skills, Tatsuya quickly defeats Josh again. The soldiers feel embarrassed about losing to someone so young, but are impressed by Tatsuya's use of the Gram Demolition spell, an S-rank spell. Kazama then orders two people to learn the spell Tatsuya used. Sanada comments that Tatsuya can also analyze the cards they are working on, which intrigues Tatsuya greatly. A few days later, Miyuki notices that Tatsuya has been working tirelessly on the cards without caring for his health. Suddenly, an alarm blares, coming from the National Defense Force. It is announced that an unknown submarine has attacked a patrol boat, causing it to catch fire. The announcement urges everyone to stay inside their homes. At that moment, Tatsuya arrives and informs them that Kazama has offered them shelter inside the base. Soon after, the phone rings and Miyuki learns from Minami that her sister Maya is calling. Maya advises Miyuki to go to the base. Miyuki asks Tatsuya to speak to Kazama about arranging transportation. Once they reach the base, Joseph leads the entire family to a room, informing them that they'll need to stay there until the shelter is made livable. Suddenly, gunshots are heard. Tatsuya uses his magic spell to investigate, but he discovers that the entire area is shielded, preventing him from seeing what's happening outside. Miyuki sends Tatsuya out to gather information, but he hesitates, fearing that if something happens to him, no one will be left to protect Miyuki. Hearing this, Tatsuya's mother yells at him for addressing Miyuki by her name, and forces him to bow and apologize. She sternly reminds him to stay out of family matters and only do as instructed. Reluctantly, Tatsuya goes outside where he sees the base personnel fighting enemies, alongside some intruders. A soldier named Kinjo enters with 3 companions and promises to evacuate the civilians to safety. Minami expresses concern about their missing companion, but Tatsuya's mother says that the rest of the families can leave in the meantime. Minami briefly feels that Tatsuya's mother showed some concern for him, but her mother clarifies that she doesn't care about Tatsuya and simply doesn't trust the strangers. Her instincts prove correct, as Joseph soon arrives and the intruders begin firing at him, revealing their true identities. Minami casts a spell to protect Miyuki and Mizuki, but the intruders use their own magic to break through the shield. Joseph and Kinjo get into an argument, and the surprise magic begins to take a toll on Miyuki. She suddenly stands up and casts a spell on one of the intruders, freezing him. Angered, Kinjo starts shooting at them wildly, and the bullets hit Miyuki. At that moment, Tatsuya arrives and uses the card he had been working on for so long. With its power, he defeats all the enemies, saving everyone. When Tatsuya sees Miyuki's condition, he becomes deeply worried. He places his hand on her and tries to wake her up, but she doesn't respond because she has died. Overcome with grief, Tatsuya shouts, "I won't let you die," and casts a unique magic spell. In an unconscious state, Miyuki finds herself in a calm, cold place where she can hear Tatsuya calling out to her. She realizes how troubled Tatsuya must be because of her death and begins to regret how poorly she had treated him since childhood. She wants to apologize, but now it feels too late. Suddenly, a strange ring appears in the sky. Tatsuya's magic. His spell begins to heal the damaged parts of Miyuki's body. As soon as she comes back to life, she hugs her brother tightly. Tatsuya then turns to his deceased mother and uses his magic to heal her too. Seeing this, Miyuki is amazed. Not only are the wounds being healed, but even their clothes are being restored. Tatsuya then approaches Minami and begins healing her as well. Minami, surprised, says, "But I was shot." Miyuki replies, "You should thank Tatsuya for this because he made it happen." Meanwhile, Tatsuya's mother, whom he healed, remains unconscious, so they call for a doctor. Kazama apologizes to Tatsuya for the attack, but Tatsuya wants to know the reason behind it. Kazama explains that the enemy's target was another family, but they spared no one. He also reveals that the enemies are controlling everything from underwater. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Tatsuya demands the safest shelter for his family and requests weapons. When Kazama questions him, Tatsuya says, "I'll take revenge on those who tried to kill my sister." Kazama refuses, saying, "We can't provide weapons to civilians, and we want the enemy to surrender." Tatsuya replies, "I won't give them the chance to surrender." Kazama agrees to let Tatsuya join the army, but Tatsuya says, "I won't follow the army's orders. I'll fight my own way. But since we share the same enemy, we'll fight together. Kazama agrees to support him. As they prepare to leave, Miyuki tries to stop Tatsuya, pleading, "Please don't go. Your life is at risk." Tatsuya responds, "I must take revenge because they hurt you. There's only one thing in my life that I hold dear, and that's you. They harmed the person I love most, and until I avenge you, I won't find peace." Tatsuya then promises Miyuki, "Don't worry, I'll definitely return, and with the powers I have, I can easily defeat them." In the next scene, we see Tatsuya's family and the entire military battling against the enemies. Minami remarks, "War feels like a terrible nightmare." Meanwhile, Tatsuya is using his magic to punish the enemies effectively. The enemies are horrified by Tatsuya's powers. Not only is he killing them, but he is also reviving his fallen soldiers. Miyuki asks her mother, "Why did my brother say that I'm the most precious thing to him?" Her mother replies, "All right, I'll answer you, but first, stop calling Tatsuya your brother." Miyuki is shocked and says, "How can you say that after he just saved our lives?" Her mother responds, "Yes, because that's the only thing he can do." Tatsuya has been a defective magician since childhood. Magic is supposed to take the information of something and transform it into something entirely different. But in Tatsuya's case, that's not how it works. Tatsuya can decompose the information of any body and reassemble it again. Using this power, he reassembled our bodies and brought us back to life. But this isn't magic. That's why he was considered a defective magician. She continues, "I conducted numerous experiments on him to try and artificially implant magic because the Yotsuba family is known for its magic. And without it, Tatsuya couldn't remain a member of the family. But the artificial magic implanted in Tatsuya was far weaker than anyone's natural magic. My experiment failed, and because of it, Tatsuya lost all his emotions. However, one emotion still remains within him, his love for his sister." Hearing this, Miyuki starts crying and says, "After everything my brother has done for me, how can I ever repay him? Even my life now is something he gave me." Then we see an enemy submarine approaching them. Tatsuya points his weapon at it, and a massive gun he built himself emerges. At the same time, Honami asks Tatsuya's mother for permission to go to him. His mother agrees, as she wants to find out what Tatsuya's plan is. Tatsuya tells his comrades, "I'll handle things here. You all should return to the base." But his comrades respond, "If we leave, you'll have to come with us too." Tatsuya firmly replies, "No. Until I eliminate all the enemies, no one is safe." Hearing this, his comrades declare, "If that's the case, then we'll stay with you, even if it costs us our lives." At that moment, Tatsuya fires at the submarine and the enemy begins firing back. Tatsuya creates a shield to protect himself. The submarine then launches several massive missiles, but Honami arrives and creates a shield to protect everyone. Meanwhile, Tatsuya finishes his calculations and activates his weapon, firing it while saying, "Material burst, activate." A massive explosion occurs, causing a giant tsunami. We see Honami, who used her power to handle the missiles, now severely injured and collapsing. On the other side, Tatsuya's explosion triggers a giant tsunami, forcing everyone to evacuate. As Honami is on the verge of death, she says, "I was just looking for a chance to fulfill my duty, so I could leave this world as a human and not as a robot." She says this to Tatsuya, hoping he learns a lesson. The chapter ends here. At the start of chapter 2, we see that it's Tatsuya's school ceremony day, but he wasn't invited to the auditorium. Miyuki asks him, "You topped the exams, so why didn't they invite you?" Tatsuya replies, "Just passing written exams doesn't prove I'm a magician." However, Miyuki believes that Tatsuya's skills deserve as much respect as any other magician. Tatsuya knows she deeply cares for him, and he feels the same for her. Later, Tatsuya is standing outside the National University, observing the place where elite magicians begin their journey. A girl approaches him and asks, "Can I help you with something?" Tatsuya replies, "No, I'm fine." The girl introduces herself as Miyuki Sagusa, the student council president. Tatsuya introduces himself briefly and walks away. When Tatsuya sits inside the auditorium, a girl sits next to him and introduces herself as Mitsuki Shibata, along with her friend Erika. The ceremony begins and Miyuki is called on stage. She expresses her gratitude for being part of the National University. Later, Mitsuki asks Tatsuya, "Is Miyuki your real sister? Because your auras are quite similar," Mitsuki remarks. Tatsuya praises her skill in recognizing people, but silently worries that Mitsuki might discover their secrets. Just then, Miyuki arrives, and Tatsuya introduces her to his new friends. Shortly after, President Mayumi also joins them and introduces herself to Tatsuya. In the next scene, Miyuki is making coffee for Tatsuya when he asks, "Why do you seem so upset?" Miyuki responds, "I received a welcome call from the principal, but they didn't even send you a welcome email. It's been bothering me." Tatsuya reassures her, saying, "Don't pay too much attention to such things. Just ignore them." Later, they visit a temple where Tatsuya is ambushed by a group of people. He fights them off skillfully. Meanwhile, Miyuki talks to Mr. Yakumo, a shinobi. Yakumo comments, "Is this the first time you're wearing a high school uniform?" Miyuki replies, "Yes, our ceremony was just yesterday." However, Yakumo starts making strange remarks that make Miyuki uncomfortable. Suddenly, Tatsuya intervenes, attacking Yakumo and saying, "You're scaring her." A fight breaks out between them, but Yakumo is incredibly powerful. In the end, a tired Tatsuya collapses to the ground. Miyuki rushes to him and asks, "Are you okay?" Tatsuya replies, "Yes, but your clothes are quite dirty." Miyuki then uses her magic to clean both of their clothes and says, "You must be hungry." She even invites Yakumo to join them for a meal. In the following scene, Tatsuya is registering at school when a boy named Leo tells him, "No one uses a keyword for registration here." Leo asks Tatsuya about his signature magic, but Tatsuya replies, "I want to become a magic engineer because I lack practical skills." As they talk, Leo and Erika start teasing each other about their looks, but Mitsuki steps in to calm them down. Later, as the four head for lunch, another argument breaks out among them. Miyuki arrives to join them, but her friends also appear and say, "You shouldn't sit with these people. We need to maintain a line between Course 1 and Course 2. Course 1 students looked down on Course 2 students, which enrages Leo. In the evening, after school ends, Miyuki's classmates return and mock Tatsuya's friends, insisting that Miyuki should stay away from them. Leo retorts, "If you think you're so superior, why don't you prove it?" Then one of the boys points his weapon at Leo, but Erika steps in to protect him. Just as they are about to use their magic to attack each other, the student council president and head of the discipline committee, Mari Watanabe, arrives and stops them. She then summons everyone to take their statements about the incident. At that moment, Tatsuya approaches her and apologizes, saying, "There wasn't any fight going on here. We were just joking around. I had heard that the Morisaki family techniques are incredibly powerful, so I just wanted to observe them for future reference." By saying this, Leo manages to save everyone, and the chapter ends here. At the beginning of Chapter 3, Miyuki apologizes to Mari on behalf of Tatsuya. Shortly after, Mayumi arrives and tells Tatsuya, "According to the school rules, you cannot force any student to demonstrate their magic. It can be very dangerous, and there are limits to using magic. I'll forgive you this time, but don't make such a mistake again." Since Mayumi doesn't want Tatsuya to face any punishment, Mari agrees and says, "If the president doesn't want to take action, then I'll let it go too." She then begins to leave but asks Tatsuya for his name before departing. Tatsuya responds, "My name is Shiba Tatsuya from Class 1E. Mari remarks, "I'll be keeping an eye on you," and leaves. Afterward, the boy from Miyuki's class introduces himself to Tatsuya as Shun Morisaki, a member of the main Morisaki family. He threatens Tatsuya once again before leaving. Following this, a girl named Mitsui Honoka approaches and apologizes for everything that happened. She praises Tatsuya for handling the situation so well, and then asks if she can accompany him to the station. As they walk, Miyuki informs them that Tatsuya has some knowledge about the CID. Erika then teases Tatsuya, asking if he would keep an eye on her CID too. Tatsuya replies, "I don't have enough confidence yet to modify a unique CID like yours." The next day, President Mayumi personally comes to meet Tatsuya and greets Miyuki as well. She invites them to have lunch with her at the student council office where all the officials are present. At the lunch table, Suzune, Mari, and others who hold various positions are seated. During the conversation, Miyuki asks Mari, "Do you prepare your own lunch?" Mari asks, "Why are you surprised?" Tatsuya replies, "No, from looking at the scars on your hands, it's clear how much you cook." After that, Miyuki says to Tatsuya, "Why don't we also start bringing our own lunches from tomorrow?" Tatsuya responds, "That's not a bad idea." Seeing this, Suzune comments, "You two look more like a couple than siblings." Tatsuya replies, "To be honest, if we weren't related by blood, we might actually be a couple." Hearing this, Miyuki becomes very embarrassed as everyone looks at her. Tatsuya then says, "Of course, I was just joking." Listening to this, President Mayumi remarks, "All right, enough joking. Let's get to work." She then says, "We need a council officer. Would you be interested in joining Miyuki?" Miyuki responds, "Thank you for the honor, but my elder brother would be more capable for this role." Hearing this, Tatsuya says, "What are you talking about?" Despite Tatsuya's objections, Miyuki tells the council leader, "He is highly capable, and my brother would be the best choice for this." Hearing this, Suzune interjects, "Even if we wanted to, we can't appoint a Course 2 student to the student council. It's against the school's rules." Mayumi then says, "All right then, it's decided. Miyuki, you will be a member of the student council from now on." Miyuki accepts this. Mari adds, "By the way, there is one thing we can do. I'm looking for a member for the discipline committee. While the student council has restrictions on Course 1 or Course 2 students, the discipline committee has no such requirements." After this, Mari appoints Tatsuya as a member of the discipline committee. Tatsuya says, "But at least listen to my opinion. I don't even know what the responsibilities of a discipline committee member are." Mayumi reassures him, "You don't need to worry. A discipline committee member only has one responsibility, ensuring that all students follow the rules of the school." Azusa explains further, "If anyone uses magic against the rules inside the school, you'll have to stop them." Tatsuya says, "So if anyone is found using magic to fight, I'll have to stop them?" even if it means using my own strength to do so. Mari replies, yes, let's complete the rest of the formalities after school. The scene then shifts to Tatsuya telling Erika and Shibata, I've joined the discipline committee. Erika says, you're going to have a hard time with this because you'll need to maintain a lot of discipline yourself. Saying this, she places her hand on a power panel to measure her magic. The farther the disc moves inside the panel, the stronger the magician's magic. After Erika, Tatsuya places his hand on the panel, but the disc moves only slightly forward. This means Tatsuya's normal magic is relatively weak. Tatsuya thinks to himself, I still can't use normal magic. The scene then shifts and we see Tatsuya and Mayuki entering the student council office where everyone is congratulating them on their new posts. Suddenly, a boy named Ju enters, looks at Tatsuya and says, what is he doing here? He's just a weed. To this, the disciplinary council leader responds, Tatsuya is also a member of the disciplinary council. Ju then exclaims, Madam, don't you know? He's a weed, and their power level is far lower than ours. Mari, the leader, replies, that's not true. Tatsuya is different. Miyuki also speaks up, saying, what do you know about my brother's level? Ju retorts, you're just lying to promote your brother. At this, Tatsuya steps in and says, how dare you call my sister a liar? If you believe she's lying, I challenge you to a fight. Hearing this, all the council members are shocked that a weed is challenging a bloom to a fight. Ju, surprised but confident, responds, oh weed, I'll crush you. In the next scene, the disciplinary council leader explains the rules. During this fight, no weapons will be used, and the first person to fall loses. Ju thinks to himself, there's no way I'll lose to a weed. I'll fire at him first. When he dodges, I'll use my magic to knock him down. Victory will be mine. As the match begins, Tatsuya attacks Ju with lightning speed. Before Ju can react, he's knocked out and falls to the ground. The match ends and Chapter 3 concludes. At the start of Chapter 4, everyone is astonished by Tatsuya's abilities. They wonder, how did a weed defeat a bloom? They ask Tatsuya, what magic spell or power did you use to defeat him? Tatsuya calmly replies, it wasn't any superpower or magic. It was my raw strength. Hearing this, everyone is even more shocked. They can't believe someone could be so fast and powerful without using magic. Suzune, a student council member, is particularly astonished and thinks to herself, that was insanely fast. I've never seen anyone this quick with just raw strength. Meanwhile, the Bloom Boy, whose name is Hanzu, says, what's the point of being a bloom if I can lose to a weed? At that moment, Mayumi approaches Hanzo and asks, are you okay? Hanzu replies, yes, madam, I'm fine. Hanzu then apologizes to Miyuki for his rude behavior, and she forgives him. Without saying another word to Tatsuya, Hanzu leaves. Meanwhile, a member of the disciplinary council tells Tatsuya, we've gotten off track. We should return to our office. In the next scene, Tatsuya and Mari are seen entering the disciplinary council office. Tatsuya looks around the office and is surprised by its condition. Tatsuya looks at the mess in the disciplinary council office and comments, the disciplinary council's office? This undisciplined? He then adds, as a magic engineer, I can't work in a place like this. The scene then shifts to show Mari and Tatsuya cleaning up the office, organizing everything back in its rightful place. While they're tidying up, two boys enter the disciplinary council office. One of them immediately addresses Mari as sister, and the other boy reports, during patrol, we didn't see anyone breaking the rules. Hearing this, Mari gets annoyed and starts hitting her brother, saying, how many times have I told you not to call me sister? After being scolded, her brother looks at Tatsuya and asks, Miss Chairwoman, who is he? Mari introduces Tatsuya as the new member of the disciplinary council. Her brother, noticing that Tatsuya isn't a bloom, questions Mari, is he really worthy of being a member of the disciplinary council? Mari responds, Tatsuya defeated Hanzo with a single strike. Shocked by the revelation that a weed defeated a bloom in one blow, the boys are in disbelief. In the next scene, we see both boys, despite being blooms, approach Tatsuya, shake hands with him, and say, it's great to meet you, Tatsuya. The scene shifts to nighttime, where Tatsuya is seen working on his laptop. Suddenly, Miyuki comes from behind and hugs him, saying, brother, you don't like being seen as embarrassing, do you? By the way, what kind of girls do you like? Someone like Miss Mayumi? Or do you prefer Miss Mari? I heard you talking with them very closely earlier. Both of them are really beautiful. Tatsuya responds, you must be mistaken. Miyuki insists, no, I know what I heard. You looked at those two girls with inappropriate eyes, and that's why I'm going to punish you. She takes out her phone, casts a spell, and Tatsuya falls to the ground and falls asleep. When Tatsuya wakes up, he finds Miyuki in front of him. She teases him, saying, how was my little prank, brother?